If you want to make a simple yet elegant gift, why not make a fountain pen? I'm Rob Brady and welcome to Static Woodworks.
The material list for today's project is pretty short. We need a pen blank and Rockler's Classic Elite Fountain Pen Kit. Specialized tools for this include a pen mandrel, the appropriate bushings for this kit, a 10mm drill bit, a pen mill with an appropriately sized barrel cleaner, and a pen vise and pen press. I'm using Rockler's combo unit, which is fantastic. The vise capability holds the pen blanks at the drill press and the jaws open wide enough and have special recesses to serve as a pen press. However, if you don't have this contraption, you could also use a wooden hand screw clamp such as one of these to hold the pen blank at the drill press, and then use an F-style clamp such as one of these to press the pen together. Since I do have this tool, I'm going to go ahead and use it. Finally, we're going to need a good finish for this pen. Today we'll be using the Stickfast CA finishing system. When making wooden pens like this, it is crucial to keep the wood grain aligned throughout the creation process. For this ebony blank, I'm using a red crayon as it's the most visible marking tool I have, but use what works best for your particular pen blank. Most commonly, this will be a black marker. Now, as my drill press only has 4 inches of travel, we'll need to cut the blank down a bit. First, we're going to mark the barrel lengths with a short engineer square and a marking knife. Be sure to leave a bit of extra space for safety's sake. Remember, you can always cut more material off, but it's really hard to put it back. With our pieces marked, it's time to cut them. Use whichever tool you feel most comfortable with. I went ahead and used the bandsaw since it was already set up for this type of cut. Before we start drilling, we need to mark center. Place a straight edge from corner to corner on the top of the blank. Scribe a line, then rotate the blank and repeat to draw an X. I'm using a marking knife as it's far more accurate than the crayon I was previously using, but in many cases a pencil or pen will be just fine. Again, use whatever works best for you. Be sure to do this on both halves of your blank. Now, we drill! Place one half of the blank in your vise of choice and line up the center mark on the drill press. Carefully drill all the way through the blank, backing the bit out as needed to clear the hole. Repeat this for both blank halves. Before we glue the cores into our blanks, we need to scuff up the surface. Grab some sandpaper, I'm using 120 grit, anything up to about 220 is fine, and try not to have too much fun with it. To glue the cores into the blank, apply a liberal amount of medium CA glue to the core, then slide it into the pen blank. Spinning it like this ensures that we spread the glue evenly and get maximum adhesion. Make sure that it sits at or just below the surface of the blank. Then, set it aside and let it cure for several minutes. Again, repeat these steps for both blanks. To ensure we can later match our grain direction, align the blanks with the marks we made previously. Then, take a black marker and draw a line on the inside of the cores to serve as a marker later on. Now we go back over to the drill press to clean out the inside of the barrels and mill the blank to match the length of the core. Put your pen blank back in your vise, then slowly mill the top, backing out frequently to check your progress. When you see shiny, your blank is in line with your core and you're done. Repeat for the other blank and then we'll head over to the lathe. With the pen mandrel installed in the lathe, install the bushings and blanks in the following order. If you've done slimline pens before, you'll notice one big difference here. The bushings actually go inside of the pen blanks. Once everything is on, slide up your tailstock and cinch everything down. And now it's finally time to start turning. As with any other pen, begin by first bringing your blank end around. As a quick visual check, here's what we're going for. Note that the writing nib is under the center collar here, attached to the longer half of the pen. Before we go too hog wild with getting our preferred shape, we've got one more crucial detail to hammer out. We need to cut part of the blank completely away to reveal the barrel inside. To do this, take your preferred metric measuring implement, such as a digital caliper,
and measure 3.5 millimeters from the right edge of the left blank as I'm doing here. Mind you, this doesn't have to be perfect, but try to get it close. Just put a little line with a pencil like so, then spin the blank around while holding the pencil up to it to get a nice even line. Now, take a parting tool and carefully chip away at it until you reveal the brass beneath. Once you're done, if you see chunks of glue or pieces of wood that remain, feel free to scrape away at them as I'm doing here with the lathe off. That way you don't damage the barrel or your tool. Once you're done with that, it's time to get to shaping our pen. Here's one already turned again as a quick visual aid. The most important thing to note here is that you want the rightmost edge of the short side of your pen to be even with the thick part of the bushing, the part that the brass tube is touching. This is where the pen blank will meet the collar. If you go narrower, that's fine, it will just go underneath the collar. Now break out your skew chisel and have fun. Maybe get the bigger skew chisel. That's much better. Now just keep cutting away at it until you've achieved the shape that you want. Now there are countless ways to finish this pen. The way I chose to finish this one was to first sand from 150 all the way up to 600 grit using sandpaper. Then break out the micro mesh and use water to wet sand through the grits from 1500 all the way up to 12,000 grit. This will bring many blanks to a nice polish on their own, but to really help protect it and let the wood shine, we're going to lay down a glossy CA finish on top. With the lathe running at a low speed, put a couple drops of thin CA finish onto a lint-free rag, then apply it to one section of the pen at a time. Move quickly and don't keep the rag contacting the blank for more than a couple of seconds, as this gets extremely hot very quickly. Don't worry if you miss a couple spots, we'll get full coverage on subsequent coats. Once you've covered both sections, don't use accelerator just yet. Go ahead and let this first coat sit for about 2 minutes to cure on its own. This will help prevent a hazy underlayment. While we wait for this first coat to cure, it would be a good idea to take a moment to hydrate, especially if it's over 100 degrees in your shop. Now that we're internally lubricated and our first coat is set, we will repeat the same steps, minus the water break, with another coat of thin CA finish. After you apply this coat, go ahead and use the accelerant this time. The goal here is to fill in all the pores of the wood so that we get a glass smooth finish. If we went straight to the medium CA without doing this, we would very likely end up with divots, pockets, bumps, or even holes in our finish, and it wouldn't take a polish as well. Turn the lathe off and inspect the wood for any bare spots that we may have missed. If you see any, go ahead and apply another coat of thin CA finish. Streaking like what you see here is normal and will be polished out later. There's no need to apply more finish over this just yet. Next, apply anywhere from 3 to 5 coats of the medium CA finish. Bear in mind that more coats just gives you more material to work with later when we try to even this out. It will not necessarily provide more protection. With the final coat of CA applied, you'll be left with a very rough looking surface. Grab your squirt bottle and the micro mesh because it's time to smooth. You'll likely need to spend a fair amount of time on the 1500 grit to get everything silky smooth. Be sure to dry the surface periodically to inspect it. When you see an evenly tinted surface without any excessively shiny spots, your surface is smooth and you can proceed through the grits from there. Be sure to keep your pad wet or you'll risk ruining the pad and the finish, and then you'll have to sand it back to start all over from the beginning.
After you've reacquainted yourself with all the micro mesh pads once again, you will have a very good looking pen blank. But we're not done yet. Now it's time to polish. Fire the lathe back up at a slightly faster speed than before, grab a lint-free rag, put a dab of set and polish on it, then rub it into your freshly finished surface until the white disappears. Do this at least once, but no more than twice. Now repeat this with 3 coats of the gloss finish. And now you have a beautifully finished pen blank, ready to be assembled into an exquisite pen. Now we will assemble this pen as per the official directions provided by Rockler. Take the short half of the pen blank and the cap and clip piece. Place the cap on the back side of the blank, then press the two together using your chosen tool. Next, grab the center band coupler. The side without the taper will get pressed onto the exposed part of our upper tube using the same procedure as before. Remember, if you're using an F-style clamp, be sure to use a piece of soft wood or leather in the jaw to protect your components. Now, press the end cap coupler into the back side of the long half of the pen. The coupler and the end cap will likely come screwed together, so if it's easier, remove the cap before pressing. Once pressed, take an O-ring from the kit and install it onto the end cap coupler just above the threads. Almost done now. Find the tip, which consists of the nib and the tip coupler, and remove the nib. Install the O-ring onto the tip coupler. Now, take note of the mark we made inside the pen tube earlier. We will need to align this with the other half in just a moment. Now, screw the tip coupler into the center band coupler until you feel resistance. Know that these are plastic threads, so it is possible to over-tighten and strip the threads out. Now, align the marks on both halves of the pen and press the two halves together. You may find this easier to press together if you just remove the end cap. Now grab your ink and your nib. Press the two together until you feel a very prominent click. Then, screw the nib into the tip coupler, screw the two halves together, and you have yourself a very stylish, one-of-a-kind fountain pen.
Thank you everyone so much for watching this video. Hopefully you've learned how to make yourself one of these beautiful pens. And if not, or if there's any questions or if anything needs any clarification, please let me know in the comments down below. Leave a like, subscribe, and ring that bell to stay up to date with the latest videos as they come out. Currently, I'm on a bit of a slow production schedule because of my daily life and everything that comes along with, you know, working a full-time schedule outside of the wood shop, being a dad and a husband and all of that. So these videos are coming out fairly slow, but I promise I've got a lot more coming down the pipeline. Next up is a planer jointer cart, so you'll want to stay tuned for that. So thank you again so much, and we'll see you in the next video.